Hi, everybody. Stay tuned. We're going to go live over on Instagram in a second, I think. Here it comes. There we go. And here we are. Well, hi, everybody. Happy, Merry Christmas in July. And what a treat. When we were able to have Jim Shore join us last time, he was in South Carolina and I was in Pennsylvania. And this time, just like Christmas magic, he is here in person. Hello, Jim
live
Shore.
And in color.
Live and in color. Well,
and at my age, when somebody says you're live, I take it seriously.
That's a good thing, right? Nice to see you, Jim. This is so fun.
We've been friends for so many years.
We have.
It's such an absolute delight to come back and get together and do this wonderful project that you're doing here.
Thank you. Well, being an entrepreneur is exciting.
It is.
It challenges you. It can be challenging, as you know.
I know a little something about that.
But tons of fun. And of course, when the opportunity arose to be able to include Jim's beautiful pieces at Just Jill, that was a dream come true. So thank you for your support. And for your friendship and for your willingness to be like, hey, sure, I'll come do a Facebook Live. That is so fun.
I cherish our friendship too. And it's a delight to do this kind of thing. And I'll tell you, our industry, is a special industry. It's not one of those things like selling appliances or something that's boat motors or, something like that. You're selling something that is more than just the piece that you're selling.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. It's not the selling; it's the sharing.
Yeah.
And you make a connection, and it's a personal connection. I've just been delighted with the interaction of the people that we serve.
Yes.
Our customers and the people that we're working for.
Yes.
When I do signings and so forth, and they'll tell me stories about what it meant to them, or how interacted with their grandmother or their granddaughter, or that sort of thing. And some of the stories are just funny,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are absolutely heartwarming.
Yes.
And some of them occasionally are heartbreaking.
Sure.
But it lets you know that the figurines that we do or that I do, collectively together, sometimes more than just figurines.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I think it evokes something.
It does.
It could even start as just an appreciation of your work,
Mm-hmm.
Jim, but then there's something in it that reminds somebody of something, or it speaks to them. And because it spoke to them, it became a cherished piece in their family so that their children cherish it too. I know that means a lot to you.
That is a great point. It becomes part of the family history.
Yeah.
The family tradition. Maybe during the seasonal times, they'll bring the piece out and the kids know, Santa's on his way because now we brought the Jim Shore Nativity out or whatever, and it's something that lasts. It'll be there, it'll go down and it'll be passed down and it'll be something that lasts. It'll last a lot longer than me or there's certain, flowers die, cheese or fruitcake gets, not fruitcake.
Yeah, because the fruitcake lasts forever, right? It's the same one that's been passed around to everybody.
Exactly. It's like a fruitcake. Right?
I don't know that I would have ever put those two in the same sentence, because certainly there's a lot more to love to me about a Jim Shore figurine than a fruitcake. So everybody, hi. We started just a couple minutes early tonight because I was so excited that Jim was here. We have amazing figures and collectibles to share with you tonight. And here's what's really special. 4 of the figures in our show in a limited quantity have been signed by Jim. So I know there are a lot of places where you can buy Jim Shore collectibles. We are honored and so touched that Jim said, sure, you pick the ones you want and I'll sign those for your customers. So there are 4 styles, 4 designs, very different. We have a Santa, a gnome, a snowman, and Rudolph that we're going to show you. They're all signed by Jim, but then we also have some other pieces from Jim that we've put into our Christmas in July collection too. Remember, you'll go to justjillshop.com to place your order. Shipping and handling is included with all of your items. So whether you buy 1 item or 10, the shipping is the same There is no, it's free. So you don't have to worry about that. You're covered. We're going to start. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're going to start with, I love all of the items that we've put in this collection, but this is the one that has been such a wow that so many of you have loved. I'm going to put my little stand here. So many of you, I think, will love when you see it. If you're a Santa collector, you will love this design. It is covered in poinsettias, beautiful coat. He's carrying a garland, intricate detail here, which I'll show you, and of course, signed by Jim at the bottom. So tell me a little bit about this particular Santa. He's the largest Santa in the group. By the way, Kylie is doing the chat tonight, everybody. So if you have any questions about any of the products, if you need a link to something, Kylie's there to help you. And in fact, Kylie, if you could look up the height of the Santa for me, that would be awesome. Thank you. So away we go. Let's talk about this beautiful Santa. He is exquisite.
Well, Santas, Jill, are one of the subjects that I do and have done for years and years. And when I started doing the Santas, it was suggested actually by one of the folks that the company we licensed to.
Yeah.
That hey, do us some Santas because we know that you've done it in your past.
Yeah.
With Designs Americana early on. But it has to be different. It has to be original. It has to be something nobody's ever seen. and I told him, I said, that's an awesome idea. Impossible. And because I have done hundreds of Santas, and hundreds of artists have done hundreds of Santas for hundreds of years.
Yes.
But at the same time, I was thinking, you know what? My favorite form of artwork, which I don't naturally do, but I emulate, is folk art.
Mm-hmm.
I love, the Pennsylvania Dutch, the folk elements and that sort of thing. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do these Santa images to the best that I can, and then I'm going to add a whole bunch of stuff on there that actually sometimes has nothing to do with Christmas, has nothing to do with the colors of Christmas, and it's going to be something different, I think. And that's what got the start of Heartwood Creek.
Okay, sounds good.
Now, this piece here, as far as substance is concerned, is like you say, one of the larger figurines.
It's 12 inches. So he's a foot tall.
Yes, so it really can be a centerpiece.
Yes.
But doing this one, of course, I wanted the theme to be floral. Now, this design right in here, in the front here.
Yes.
Typically, I will use what I call rose modeling elements as a part of the design motif.
Yeah.
Okay.
It even has some little crystals in there, Jim, on this one.
It does. Yeah. It does. Now, rose modeling is originated in Norway. Mm-hmm. So it's a Scandinavian.
Yeah. And I see that. The look of this sort of has that.
Now this is a version of an early design style that was influenced by Norwegian rose modeling. Yeah. This is German Fraktur.
Okay.
Now you see that in a lot of early American things. You'll go to like Williamsburg.
Yes.
A lot of the designs and the pictures on the wall decor and everything or the designs on the trunks, that kind of stuff, will be in German Fraktur. And German Fraktur is actually what really morphed into Pennsylvania Dutch.
Okay.
Which is actually Pennsylvania Deutsch.
Deutsch, you're right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it's German.
Yes.
Anyway, I thought that would be a beautiful way of doing something that combines something that's old and something that is so structured the way it is, embellish it with a little bit of rhinestones and some glitter and stuff like that, and that will be sort of the cornerstone of this particular piece. Then wrapped around it is this very tactile robe.
Oh my gosh!
This quilters out there will recognize this as the Christmas flower. And it's a version of the Christmas poinsettia in quilt form. Okay, and it's not generally done this profuse, but I thought, okay, if I crowd these things together, it forms a visual texture that I thought was very interesting, Yeah. And then it emulates the poinsettias that are in the garland that Santa is carrying there.
I love it. Lynn just said, I just bought this Santa. Can't wait. So beautiful. So
And
she's
then-
excited.
Now, I always start by thinking about Santa's face. I want there to be a certain expression. Some people accuse me of making these as self-portraits, but
Should I hold it up next to you?
should have brought my beard. But
Look at that face.
And that is one of the departures that I do from real folk art, because real folk art is very stoic and so forth. But I want it to speak to whoever owns it.
Right.
And I hope, this might be kind of Pollyannic of me, but I firmly believe that the emotion that I put into a piece of artwork, which I do, I'm very passionate about what I do, and I take it seriously. And even these whimsical stuff, when I'm into it, I am truly into it.
Yeah.
And so I want that feeling to come out. It's not just a thing. It's not pumped out of a injection molder somewhere. It means something.
Yes.
Why? Because it meant something to me.
Yes. Right.
Even the signature that I put on there. I'll tell you a brief little story about that. Jan and I, that is my lovely bride.
Yes.
And boss, by the way. I'm a smart guy, right? Anyway, we were doing early on. This is when we were first getting started. Didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. We were doing a craft show in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and there was an artist that was also showing. They're very well known, and I loved his artwork, and I'd always admired it. And I said, Jan, I would so love to have a piece. She said, take the money that we have and go buy a piece. Well, this was food money. But I went and I bought a piece.
Yeah.
And I stood in line like people do at my signings.
Yeah.
And patiently. And I got up to the artist. He took a piece, scribbled something that was unintelligible, did not look at me, had no connection with me, moved it aside, and it was like, next. And there I was.
Wow.
I was so disappointed that I went back and I told Jan what happened. I said, Jan, I have to tell you, right now this piece means nothing to me. That so disappointed me. And I told her that very day, I said, honey, if it ever comes to pass that somebody wants to honor me by having me sign a piece of my artwork for them, I will engage with them. I'll make that brief moment mean something and be memorable.
Yes.
And when they walk out the door, they'll take that with them.
Yes.
And they'll share that. That'll be part of that piece.
Yes.
And at the very least, I'll give them a legible signature.
Well, I know that to be true because so many of you, when you learned that Jim was going to be here at Just Jill, and we would be visiting with him, so many of you who've met Jim have said he is the nicest man. I had such a nice time chatting with him when he signed my piece. The whole reason Jim and I were able to reconnect is because I was in Atlanta earlier this year at the big gift mark. I happened to go to the UNESCO showroom, which is part of Jim and Jim Shore and other brands. And I stood in line with everybody else, getting something signed that day, and I watched Jim interact with each person who was there. And these aren't necessarily collectors per se. These are also people who carry your figures and collectibles. They're retailers. Yeah. And Jim spent so much time with each person, took photos with each person. I watched him sign every little gnome that people were getting that day, perfectly able to read those signatures. So that's what you'll get in the experience. But I think it's so wonderful to hear that from the artist, that how much you are appreciated, right? Because neither one of us could do what we do, Jim, without people here who are wanting to spend time with us and trust and are invested in us too.
Well, I tell people, that to do what we do, there's a lot of moving parts, and the artwork is part of it. And then there's marketing and merchandising and product development and all the stuff that goes along with it, And so each element is important. And I'm one of the elements too, obviously. But I'm not the most important element. the most important element is we're talking to them right now.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Yes.
And I never lose sight of that. And when I sign a piece, now
Let me show that to you again.
sometimes I'll go to the distribution center, and I might sign 3,000 pieces at a given time.
Wow.
But here's the thing: if I'm signing 1,334, that the person who gets that piece doesn't care that I just signed 1,333,
Yes.
or that I'm going to sign hundreds more. They only care about that
Theirs.
piece. So when I'm signing that piece, that is the only piece that I care about,
Yes.
because I am thinking, I don't know who's going to get this, but whoever's going to get this is going to have a legible signature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I
that's-
appreciate that so much. And I know you all do too. If you're just tuning in, there's a couple things I want to remind you of. We have 4 pieces that we're going to share with you that Jim has graciously signed. We are limited in the number of units that he signed. So if you want a signed piece from Jim with that beautiful legible signature, please make sure you place your order to get those pieces. I'm going to show you the next one coming up. In addition to that, if you love and collect Jim's pieces, if you buy more than one of Jim's pieces in our collection, you get 10% off your entire Jim Shore order. And we did that because we knew how many of you, the last time Jim was here, you were buying several pieces for your collection to give as gifts, to put throughout your home, to make you smile and make you happy. So 10% off if you buy more than one of Jim's pieces in our show tonight. We're going to move on from Santa. All right. So again, he is, remember, shipping and handling included, signed by Jim. We only have a limited number that are signed. When the signed versions are gone, we'll still be able to carry the Santa. You just won't have one with Jim's signature. So I'm going to I'll put that Santa. Right there.
There's only about 163 shopping days till Christmas. So.
Well, thank you, Jim. I'm glad you know the
So
details.
People get on it, okay?
All right, let's bring something next that is celebrating an anniversary in 2024, 60th anniversary of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. How many of you remember those cute claymation? Oh my gosh, as a kid, I can remember like you had to get all your homework done, all your chores done. You had to reserve that night, bath jammies ready to go in front of the TV to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And so you have captured the magic of that wonderful Rudolph story that so many people grew up with in this wonderful collectible.
Wow.
Again, another signed piece from Jim celebrating its 60th birthday this year. But tell us about this and any stories you have about the Rudolph show.
That has always been one of our traditions too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hey, you'd watch as a family, right?
We've watched it every year.
Yes.
And I don't think we've ever missed a year.
Yeah, I don't think we have either.
And it was with the kids, when they were. I was kind of young when it got started. Believe it or not.
Yes.
That was back in the olden days.
Well, I wasn't far behind, Jim.
So anyway, so we were watching. I'm growing up. And then I start my family, and
Yes.
the kids. That's part of what they did, and now they're having kids. And it's just something that we will always do. Now, when I was asked to do this co-brand, okay, that was on the heels of the success of the Disney collection that I was doing. So
Yeah.
It just was, I don't know, sort of a natural progression. Okay, now, and right now, I mean, if I think about that, I can almost hear Burl Ives.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I wasn't totally sure, exactly if there was how many people out there was that would actually, agree with us,
Yes.
and be as enthusiastic about the subject as we were. So I was unsure, but we had to roll out
cute.
with some of our friends on QVC.
Great.
If you don't
Yeah.
mind me saying.
No, not at all.
Jackie. I was with Jackie.
Oh, wow. That's going back. Yes.
Yeah.
Jackie Gonzalez.
Exactly,
Sure.
and so it was the first time it was ever seen. The first piece I ever did, Jackie saw it,
Oh,
and
nice.
she pulls out. She says, "I want to be a dentist,"
I was going to.
and I said, "This is going to be a hit."
Yes, exactly.
So, but
exactly.
What I try
So
to do is
cute.
I try to be as faithful as I can to the character first,
Mhm.
because I want whoever sees this piece to not just say, "Oh, it's not a Jim Shore piece." I want them to say, "Hey, that's Rudolph."
Rudolph.
You know,
Yes.
and then I put some embellishment on it, and sort of put my footprint on the way I do things. But this piece here, of course, this is a real bell.
Yeah.
You can,
Yeah.
You can actually hear it.
Hear it. Yep.
And then on the snow here, we put a little bit of sugar glitter, and
Not overly so. It's not going to make a mess or anything, but it makes it glisten.
Well,
yeah.
Glitter, the application of glitter is one of those things where if you put too much on it, it looks gaudy and cheap.
Agreed.
If you put just enough on it, it just embellishes and gives it some sparkle,
Yeah.
and it brings the piece more to life.
I love him. Isn't he so good? And the bell and the detail here and the carving.
It's one of those pieces too, that
carving here.
Really, you don't have to be a Rudolph enthusiast or whatever to like this piece. It's that piece. If you do a grouping, let's say, with Santa, and you can put. Now, here's what we do.
How cute is that together?
Jan is a freak of nature when it comes to decorating.
Okay.
And I should say force of nature.
Yeah, force maybe is better.
Yeah. Sorry, Jan. So force of nature. Okay. She does 12 trees every year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Different themes. Yes.
Yeah. We have a purple tree, of course.
Fun.
We have a silver tree.
Love that.
We have a food tree in the dining room.
Cute.
We have fishing lure trees.
Oh my! Do you take pictures and post them on Facebook?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I can't wait to. I'm gonna have to check those out.
In the dining room, we have this layout of a beautiful centerpiece that we do, elaborate.
Mm-hmm.
And we always take a piece like this, like the Santa, or something similar, large like this, and then we embellish it with characters like this.
Cute.
And we'll have snowmen, and we'll have some angels, and and then we'll progressively down, and then we'll put ornaments and glitter and fake snow and everything, and just make it wonderful.
Yeah.
And so when we have our parties and everything, what we do is we collect pieces like this and give them at our parties as
favors or
party favors, placeholders and stuff like that.
I love that. Yeah, at each place setting, I love to do that too. Somebody had asked about the Santa and the Rudolph together, so you can see that they're, how wonderful they are together. Again, we selected 4 pieces from Jim and had him sign a limited number of them. So again, when we sell out of the pieces that are signed, we might still have the figure, but we won't have the signed version. So that was what was so exciting about having Jim here in person and giving you an opportunity that maybe you've never had before. You've never been able to go to one of Jim's signings wherever you live in your area. Maybe you just started collecting. Maybe you want to start that collection for a granddaughter, a grandson, just a family treasure. And so, gosh, who better to be the focal point of that new collection than wonderful Rudolph. So if you're interested in our Rudolph, please make sure you pick him up. And again, signed by Jim. And of course, will come in your classic Jim Shore box. So it's packaged beautifully, and shipping and handling is included with everything. And remember, if you buy more than one piece, you get 10% off your Jim Shore order. All right, ready for piece number 3?
Before we go on,
yes.
I want to make one more comment.
Yes, please.
One of the nice things about getting a piece like this is that if you are a collector of that subject, it is a piece among many.
Right.
Good
point, Jim.
But I'll tell you, the other pieces that you've collected may or may not have a signature.
Right.
And I don't want to put too big a point on it because I'm humble.
Yes.
And
you are humble. You are humble. You are humble.
I'm just teasing around. I'm kidding. But, but it is kind of nice to have the signature piece. So that's a good one to add to a collection if that's what you do.
Yeah, it
makes
it a treasure.
Start doing it.
Yeah, makes it a treasure. All right, so there's piece number 2. All right, do you want to do a snowman or do you want to do a gnome?
Snowman.
Okay, let's do the snowman. Okay, this snowman. And I know how many of you collect snowmen. So look at the snowman with the bottle brush tree, with the star on top, with this beautiful scarf, and of course, the Jim Shore signature down below. So this is our 3rd of 4 pieces that are signed by Jim. I love this snowman because I do feel like it has so many of these quilts and folk art elements that really go back to where you started.
That is absolutely true,
Yeah.
and it's done in a subtle way.
Yeah.
And that's one of the nice things about it. Some of the pieces I do are so colorful.
Yeah, right.
Early
More
on,
elaborate, maybe.
Early on, in the art world, I was basically pegged as a colorist, because of the palette. Even though I have I have the advantage of having absolutely no training. That means there's I don't know.
There's no rules.
There's no wrong.
Right? Yeah. Right. Right.
It's all intuitive. I just
Yes.
do what I feel like doing.
I love it.
But a piece like this, see, early on, I'll tell you, early on when I did this to introduce this as a line,
Yes.
it was turned down.
Snowmen were turned down?
Yes.
You're
snowmen were
kidding.
turned- Yeah. And you know why? They said, "What's 3 white balls? What can you do with 3 white balls? It's passe." I said,
Wow.
don't think so.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
so I'm doing my version, and this is, of course, I think a pretty good example
So
of it.
good.
The colors and everything are so subtle. Even the dry brushing of white on white is a nuanced, element that you can't really. It won't pick up on there, but it'll pick up in person.
Yes.
And the base of it, once again, we have a little bit of the sugar glitter that adds a little bit of jazz to it.
Can you talk a little bit about the painting of these pieces?
The painting is. I'm glad you brought that up because
Are they hand painted?
They are. The entire process is a handmade process. Of course, the original is a carving, sculpting, whatever it takes to achieve the look of what I want it to look like, and all the elements that are included. And then we start into the molding process, and that's kind of the mechanical end of it, And we etch it and so forth, so that the surface of the casting has an eggshell surface.
Yes.
That's what we call tooth. That allows the paint that we use, this is high density lacquer, and it is so hard, and it attaches almost like a fresco. It becomes part of the piece.
Yes.
You can't scrape it off.
Right.
And I mean, it's there like permanently.
So they're going to last.
They will
right?
last.
Like that's
they will
important
last.
to know.
Your great grandchildren will pull it out and marvel
Amazing.
at how well the painting looks.
Right.
But it's all hand painted, and we don't use airbrush. All of this stuff, the what we call floating, which is some of this stuff around here, this subtlety that makes the shaping.
Yes.
That and all of that. See, that's all done with a brush.
Wow.
And there's a technique.
Even like the cheeks.
Every
and
little
everything.
bit of that little
Wow.
blush right there is put on there with a what we call a dry brush.
Yeah.
You load the brush. You actually work the paint out of it until it's just so it doesn't make a stroke.
Right.
It makes a subtle thing. So
yes.
Like
like makeup.
Like
right?
makeup.
Yeah. Right.
Same thing.
I'm going to hold this up so people can see the detail, Jim. So look at that face. Is that not the cutest face? And the hat. I feel like there's like this signature Jim Shore purple. Kind of matches your shirt tonight.
I do like it. Well, I do like Jill, I wear purple every day.
Has it always been a favorite color of yours?
It has.
How did that start?
Well, I've always been drawn to purple, but one of the things that I guess one of the reasons I do it is because look at the hat band. It's exactly the color.
I know. Look at that. I know. And Kimberly says that snowman is adorable. So people are we have so many comments over here, Jim. We'll have to take a look at them. Kathy says, love the snowman. I love the bottle brush tree too.
Now, here's a good example of what I mean about the elements not being overdone. You can see the rose modeling elements that are on there, but they add to the piece rather than distract from the piece.
Yes.
And that's the object of the thing. And then the quilt patterning is simply incised and embellished with a little bit of mild antiquing, and that's a bona fide quilt pattern, and
he's great.
That is, some people refer to that as the twilight star or the winter star when it's done in this kind of application.
Yeah.
Quilters will know.
Yes.
And because that's the
like an 8-point star, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and the 8-point star, I use it a lot, and there's a lot of different iterations of it. The Ohio star is an 8-point star, Martha's favorite, and it goes on and on. And I just think it's got nice balance and everything, and I can do a lot of stuff with it. But it's
he's a good one. He's a really good one.
He's a very good one.
Yeah,
And
I really like him a lot.
yeah, the quilt patterning, though, it's something that, Jan and I, we have this big collection of vintage quilts.
Mm-hmm.
We have almost 500.
Wow.
And they go from the 1700s up to just after World War II.
And do you use them to decorate around the house?
We rotate them, and we
mhm.
put them on display. And
Yes.
we actually use the ones that are, some of them are fairly fragile.
Of course, if the
And
older
we're
ones,
careful
yes.
with those.
Yeah.
And then we try our best to date them, and we do a little research on them and so forth. Jan and I have actually written 3 books on quilting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and in fact,
Wow.
if somebody asked me do I know anything about quilting, I said I wrote the book.
Yeah, you did. Times 3.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, we're going to move on from our
Okay.
snowman. Again, if you want him, remember, he's one of 4 signed pieces. Jim signed just a small assortment for you. So we have the snowman, we have Rudolph, we have our big Santa. He's 12 inches tall. And then finally, last but not least, a cute little gnome. And these gnomes have sort of taken people by storm. It's one silo of your collectibles that people might only collect these.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you think it is?
Well,
and how did you get started with the
I'd
gnomes?
say it started actually by accident.
Really?
It did. I was doing, a lot of times, if I do a major project, like something like a big nativity, or a castle piece, or even a large Santa, like the one we're showing this evening, that's like a major project, and there's a
Yes.
lot that goes into that. Okay?
Right.
So I relax in between sometimes by just doing some funny little something or other, one of my projects. And this time I did something just for the grandkids. And what I did is I carved a few of these little things that looked like upside down ice cream cones with a nose.
Yeah.
So they were just silly little things, and they loved them, and so,
good.
one of my grandkids said, "Grandpa, put that on the line. People will love this." I thought, it's a silly little thing, I don't know. So we gave it a try, and then it took off like a rocket.
Wow.
And it surprised the heck out of me.
Yeah.
So since then I've done, I don't know how many. I've lost track of how many that
Yes.
I've done, different ones.
Right.
I've done gnomes in the garden, gnomes in the kitchen, gnomes around the world, rescue gnomes.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like
Yeah.
it's like anything, sporting gnomes, and fishing, fisherman gnomes, and then then around the hat, and I just got finished a collection of vegetable and fruit gnomes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So cute,
Oh,
I
yes.
bet.
Oh,
Oh, I
yeah.
can't wait to see those.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see
And
those.
so it's, yeah, and like you say, it's just taken off like that, and really been a very successful, not just an element of the thing, but it's something that really, really brings a smile.
Yes,
You know.
right. How can you not smile
Yeah.
when you see this? Karen said, I have that gnome already. Oh, he has a little bit of sort of a Scandinavian, sort of Norwegian look to him.
He
Yeah.
is part of our Nordic Noel collection.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So gray, red,
yeah.
white. Lisa Marie says, the gnome's mustache looks very familiar.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got
There
you.
you have it, right? And then you can see, like, on the back, again, you have Jim's signature there. Just for those of you who maybe want a piece of Jim's collection, you're tight on space, or maybe you'd like to, nestle this in your office cubby if you're back to working in an office scenario. If you want to look at something that will make you smile in every day, put it out on your desk. Put this in your child or your grandchild's, room. Even though, we sort of theme these around Christmas, if you decorate your home in grays and whites, there's no reason why this little gnome couldn't be hiding in a little corner, and you could enjoy it and, find it and have it make you smile every single day. They are just adorable.
And I'll tell you what, it's a great way to start a collection,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love the idea of collecting stuff.
Yes.
We do. We're I guess we're well off enough to be considered eccentric collectors and not hoarders. So a lot of people, collect these things because we have gone all over the place with them. I mean,
Yes.
and this scale is sort of in the middle. We've done ornaments and with little pieces like this.
Mhm.
We've done garden-sized gnomes like
Oh,
this.
nice.
We've got, and all sorts of different. One of my favorite subjects actually is the gnomes around the world. So we've done them for all these different, countries.
Yes.
And we'll have some little icon thing. I've done that with Santa Clauses,
Mhm.
Santa Claus around.
Yes.
And so I'll have like, a beer stein and some lederhosen or something like that, for the
For Germany,
one,
yes,
and then I'll have
right.
wine and an arrogant look for a French.
Little beret.
Yeah, little mustache.
Shamrocks, right, for Ireland,
Exactly.
a little Celtic
Yeah, so
design.
it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun actually researching for me the different cultural aspects of the different countries, because as funny as it sounds, and we're sort of making a joke out, but I try to make things so that the people who are from that country, or that's their heritage, or the ones that collect it, because we sell all over Europe too,
Yes, yeah.
and in Australia.
Wow.
I did a signing last year, 5 signings in Australia,
Oh, that's fun.
and I did 10 signings in 5 countries in Europe.
Neat.
So you're part of a world movement if you're part of the Jim Shore family and are here with Jill.
Love it.
Then you're part of a big thing that's happening. But what I try to do, what I was trying to say is I want it to be something that is respectful.
Yes.
Might be funny, might be whimsical.
Yes.
But I want them to.
Well, if it's representative of a country,
Exactly.
you really want it to be authentic.
Exactly.
Yeah, and again, I love that Jim puts in that work to make sure that it is. Bridget says, I have at least 25 of Jim's pieces, large and small, over the years. Yeah,
well,
it's nice.
Thank you so much, Bridget. It's a delight to have people like Bridget, sort of connected to my heart.
Yes, yeah. And Cynthia says, I love the snowman. I can't wait to get it. Thank you, Jim, for sharing your artistic talent. We have the best audience, like you do, right? Just nice people who appreciate really good things. So
someone is asking if you can hold up the gnome really quick.
Hold up the gnome. Yes, I'll stand up and get a little closer here for you. So here's the gnome. Look at the cute face. Look at the dimension too. That's what I also have always loved about your pieces, Jim. Like, it still stays true to that look of as if you had carved it from wood. Like, you still see that kind of, I guess, modeling to it, and you see the textures that are here.
I actually do that on purpose
elements.
because if I was doing a finished classical piece, that would be like step 4, and
yes,
I would go on from there and really smooth it out and make it where it's really smooth and slick and all that stuff. But on this, I want to emphasize the hand done element of it.
Yes.
And also, when we do our dry brushing, as you can see on the gray, the dry brushing hits the top of the facets and creates a little sort of a visual, matrix that adds to the design of it and makes it interesting. It gives it visual texture.
Yes.
That you can't paint that on,
Right.
I mean.
Yes. So here's our gnome, signed. Rudolph, signed. Beautiful garland, poinsettia, amazing. Wow. Can you tell I love that one? Signed. And sweet, so cute. Can we just take a look at that face one more time? Hello, you need me. This is our
maybe that's a self-portrait.
Yeah. That is our sweet snowman. So these 4 pieces, Jim signed these for you in a limited number. I mean, I don't have thousands, right? We're small here, just Joe. So if you'd like to get a signed piece from Jim Shore, those are the 4 signed pieces we have for you. And remember, if you buy more than 1 piece, then you get 10% off your Jim Shore order. We do have other items we want to share with you. Again, these are all amazing specialty pieces. And some of these pieces right now are only available here at Just Jill, which is pretty cool for my little shop. So I think I'm going to grab the truck because so many people love a red truck. And this is Santa in a red truck with the Christmas tree and the buffalo check and the texture. And I just want to show you too, like all of your pieces will have the Jim Shore hang tag. I don't want you to think that buying it from Just Jill is any different than buying it from any other, I guess, authentic retailer. So that's the reason why we put that tag there, but I'm just going to take it off for now. Tell us about Santa in the red truck, because this has also been kind of a fun little motif,
Yeah,
right?
actually, early on, very early on, we were doing some Santa. Oh, Santa in an airplane, Santa in a biplane, Santa in
Yeah.
a boat, Santa in a
Well,
space.
Santa gets around.
Space, yeah, and even in a sleigh.
Right.
Who knew?
Novel idea.
So early on, we were sort of doing trucks before doing trucks was popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when the red truck craze, I guess you might say,
Yeah.
came along, well, we were right in the thick of it. So we did, and once again, we've done it different sizes and different ways and different things with different characters, I might add.
Yes.
And this one is sort of the Christmas oriented one, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, once again, it's got the scale that allows it to be a centerpiece.
Yes.
And you could just embellish that like crazy, on both sides. And for the
Just wanted you to see the Santa face.
the pickup truck enthusiast and who isn't.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying the guy that's got one, because we got a whole family of girls and they all love pickup trucks. So it's everybody loves a pickup truck. And this is kind of a vintage pickup truck. It might be like an old Studebaker or something.
Yeah, look at that.
And the with this, with the fenders and the running board and all that. We tried to do things like that make it a little bit different, as a retro kind of look. And then the buffalo plaid, I love that. I mean, I've used that as a background element on a lot of pieces in different colors and in different subtleties and so forth. So I thought it would be interesting to have the truck
I like that.
covered in buffalo plaid, because these things I
That's
try
the
to
white wall tires too.
I'll tell you, what happens. People ask me about the dynamics of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
How do you come up with the stuff? How is it you do 1,000 Santas and they're all different?
Yeah.
Or nativities. I mean, you can't change the cast of characters.
Right.
Same with pickup truck. Pickup truck's a pickup truck, and they say, how does that work? How do you think of that? To tell you the truth, I don't really have a clear answer for that. I've thought about it myself, because what happens is that we do a brainstorming, as you know,
Right.
and we winnow it down to a doable line, and it'll be co-brands and Heartwood Creek and new things and line extensions and all that, and it will be delivered to me after our brainstorm in the form of a list, and the list will be a cryptic word, And when I see it, I will read the whole list, and as I read them, I get automatically a mental image.
Ideas. Yeah.
And it comes automatically. It's like theater of the mind, It just, once I see it, I mean, if I were to say, imagine a purple elephant with pink polka dots.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing and you can't help it.
Right.
If I said, don't think about an elephant, a purple elephant with pink, you think about it.
Yes.
And that's sort of the way it happens. And something like this, once I see the word and I get the image, which takes about 1 second,
Mm-hmm.
unless it's a complex piece, that's maybe 3 seconds.
Uh-huh.
So
That's still pretty quick.
so anyway, the design work is all done at that point.
Yeah.
Then I do a very comprehensive, highly detailed, extremely detailed drawing, which I am pretty good at, in order to communicate my idea, and we do color work on stuff like that. But it is exactly the first thing I thought of when they said do Santa in a red truck. Okay.
This is what came to mind.
That's what came
This
to
is
mind.
what came to mind.
And that's the way it works. But
I love him hanging out the window.
oh, he's having
That
a ball,
beautiful tree in the
he's-
back. Even, I don't know if you could see like over like I don't know, are those
Fender.
fenders? Thank you. Even those have the beautiful carving detail.
And see, a lot of that is monochromatic.
Yes.
In other words, so I don't color all the pieces. I let the carving do the talking for it.
Yes.
And then we put a light antiquing on there, and then that
Kind of,
brings
yeah.
that brings out the the piece, and it's
It's a good one. It's a good one. So if you love red trucks, if you love this, motif, make sure you pick this one up. You mentioned a nativity, so I do want to show one of the nativities that we have, Jim,
Okay.
kind of in the spirit of Christmas in July. And again, that's another piece. We just left the tag on to show you that all your pieces will come with the tag so that you know that it's an authentic piece. But here's something where you took the idea of a nativity and put a coastal
Yeah.
type spin to it.
That's
So let's talk a little bit about that, because this one's very different. This may not be traditional Christmas, and yet look how beautiful this particular piece is. So for the nativity collector, or those of you who are fortunate enough to live in a coastal area where you do have a little bit more of this sort of ocean or beach motif, you executed this beautifully. And I know that in pieces like this, as you were saying earlier, just with the gnomes from around the world, and you have to be respectful of the heritage of the country. As much as you can create these unique ideas, there is also this respectful, not the word. Thank you. Yeah, it's a respectful approach to the overall design.
Well, I do that on anything that is relevant to somebody's sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Christian myself, then I'm
Yes.
doing a lot of this for me.
Yes.
And but a piece like this, once again, if you can express the the Holy Family and that story in a lot of different ways, because we're talking about God's creation.
Yeah.
And I just thought this would be a lovely idea to incorporate some of the elements of the coastal thing, and we do coastal all sorts of different ways. We do,
Mm-hmm.
Fish collections, and we do shells, and we do whimsical stuff, and we do all kinds of stuff. And I thought, okay, let's back off and let's do something that's spiritual, and people like that, and they must know, that my goal is to tell that story in a unique and different way. You just proved that it's
Yeah, he's fine.
that it's unbreakable. You just did a drop test.
He's fine.
Drop test on air.
There you have it. Lynn said, I just received the coastal nativity and it's beautiful. The detail is phenomenal. Thanks, Jim. And I feel like this is one of those pieces, Jim, that I'm going to look at it over the course of a year, and I might see something different every time I look at it, because there's all these little hidden shells, or, oh my gosh, look at the way the coral reef has been done. I never noticed the way that Joseph's hat was created before. There's even the star is more like a starfish. So the detail that's in this particular piece, while it's a little bit more petite in terms of overall size, I would say it's probably, maybe about 9 or 10 inches tall.
That has its advantage,
amazing,
by the way, too, because we've got some nativities that that would almost fill this table.
Yes,
but not everybody has that kind of space. You might want something just in your child's room.
Yeah,
just some little something that you could put, maybe in the foyer or on the dining room table or something like that, or when your kid goes to college.
Yes,
it goes in their dorm room.
Right,
or you have a small apartment.
Right.
And you don't need a big thing, but you
I was thinking
celebrate.
You were saying that when they go to college, since they're out of that room now, you could decorate it the way you want. So you
That's
could put
right.
that in
That's
there.
what we did. Yeah.
I don't know if my son Trevor realizes, but when he comes home for Christmas break, his room might look completely different than the way he left it.
Your room. No, you mean the craft room. Yeah.
The art room.
Yeah, okay. And I'll tell you another thing about this is the coloration of this. Once again, it's a subtle coloration. So I think really that adds to the flavor of it, because some of the ones, in fact, the early piece that I did that was a nativity, it was yeah, there you go.
He's good.
Yeah, I can see.
Just want to make sure.
He survived the fall. But were very colorful, and there's a place for that.
Yes.
But then there's also a place for this this
Very
sort of
soft.
delicate, soft subtlety, and I like that.
Really beautiful.
That's actually a takeoff of early on when we did the White Woodland series. That started like that. There you go.
Yeah, I was going to move right into the White Woodland series.
That's a good segue.
So how about that? So I know a lot of you, when it comes to collecting Jim's pieces, you do love the White Woodland collection. You may not remember this, but the first time that the White Woodland collection debuted on QVC, I was your host.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
Because it was something, I mean, I remember it so clearly because it was so different than all of the color that we had always associated with Jim's beautiful designs. But this white woodland collection really has, again, become another silo where people may only just collect this look. I can tell you, my daughter Kylie, when she was looking at the show, she fell in love with this particular piece. So what was the overall want for this collection? And I'll show this to all of you so you can see the detail.
Yeah, that is part of the White Woodland collection. Now,
the owl.
That's got started quite a few years ago. And you know, on the trees down there, once again, we've got a little bit of glitter that adds a little jazz to it.
And I mean, it looks like birch.
Yeah, it's like a
white birch,
exactly.
right?
So we've
amazing.
That's sort of taken off on that, where you have a the
deer.
contrast between the glitter of the trees, the precision of the base design, and then that sort of natural look of the birch bark. And I think, and that's where we pick up just a very, very subtle amount of color. You know? And the whole thing, I think, works together as a composition. That's
beautiful.
What I always try to do, you know.
Yeah.
You see, White Woodland got started, it's been many years ago, and I did a St. Francis for a friend of mine.
Ooh.
And it was a piece that was about this big, and I had carved it, and I just painted it white, okay, and which was very unlike me, because I usually color up everything.
Yes.
And it had all the carving details and decoration and so forth, and it was just so immediately loved by them, you know, and they said, "Gosh, you have to put this on the line once again." And once again, I resisted, because I thought, you know, look, I do color, you know.
Yes.
People aren't going to understand this, you know. Right. And they said, no, just please try it. So we talked about it, and I talked to Jan about it, and she said it's got her okay. So, so I did another piece, and did coloration similar to this, where I had a little bit of pop of a little bit of subtle washed, you know, color here and there, and put it on the line, and it was just taken off just like. But now here's what I tried to do. I tried to make it consistent with the rest of the line. And you can put that in the line of a lot of colorful pieces, and it doesn't stand out as being odd or out of place, you know.
I mean, you could put it, you know, mix it in with your snowman, right? Add it to your Santa collection. Put your little gnome in there. I mean, they're all very different, and yet they all work together so well.
That's what I try to do. I try these compositions, and I think in terms of that, you know. For one thing, see, if I do a Santa, okay, I get this idea for a Santa. Then, once I get the idea, and I go see it, the way I do it, I go down the list. I get all the ideas here, like in a file cabinet. Then when I go back and start working, I just pull it out and start working. But I also have to make sure.
You're lucky that you can remember those things, because I can't tell you what I have for breakfast this morning, frankly. Let alone, oh yeah, I had this idea for a Santa.
I'm not bragging about my great memory. That's just the process. Okay, that's the art thing, and that's where it stops.
Okay.
No. So I have to also be aware of what I have done, so that I don't duplicate something.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't say, oh, I had thought of that before, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's like going through. Do you remember how they had Rolodexes?
Oh yeah.
Well, if you put your finger up here and roll the Rolodex, you can sort of get a little blip of everything. Yeah. That's kind of the way the process is of going back and looking at everything. So and that doesn't take very long either. But I'm assured that it's a brand spanking new piece. Yeah. And that's the way I do.
Well, this one, if you love this idea of the white woodland, again, it looks like the birch. There's a little very soft wash of blue on the kind of the coat, if you will, of Santa. I'm just going to hold it up one more time. Look at the owl. Look at the face, the tree, that birch, the carved, you know, that sort of raised relief of the trees that are just lightly dusted with shimmer. Jeanette said he's so serene looking. The 3 deer in the front, and then of course sort of that iconic carving detail that really represents Jim's pieces so well. So if you like that white woodland Santa, again, you can find him at justjillshop.com.
That's actually a pretty good example of my art. Because it's got a combination of different elements, and it's got some contrasting elements that I think work well together.
Mm-hmm.
So
He's
I'm
beautiful.
always trying to think of a good balanced composition so that the people who aren't even artistic or don't actually realize that they're looking at a composition will know that it's right.
Yes,
whether
right.
they know it's not, or not.
Right, right. Yes.
That's what I try to do.
I love that. We have a couple more pieces we're going to show you. Let me show you one more Santa, and then we'll finish up with Peanuts and the Grinch. Okay? So stay tuned if you love those. Here's one more Santa you might be interested in. To me, a very classic Santa. Again, dressed in a beautiful, iconic, I feel like Jim Shore colorized Christmas coat, but a beautiful Christmas tree in the front. And I'm going to bring that up for everybody to see, Jim, so they can see, like, those are almost like they're all raised. So the dimension on this tree, it's not flat. You can see how bulbous the ornaments are. You can see the candy canes popping out, the star there, and of course that sweet Santa face.
The thing about this piece here, that quilt pattern there will be recognized as by quilters. That is the Christmas flower.
Oh, nice.
That's one way of expressing it. That's one of the names for it.
Yeah.
And it's meant to sort of simulate elements of like a poinsettia, Christmas flower with the green and the red and so forth. So if you sort of look at it in that vein, you can sort of see what they're trying to get across.
Yeah.
And then the fact that there's so much raised detail on that
tree.
The tree. When I was in Australia, a woman and her daughter came up as one. We had 700 people at the Melbourne signing.
Oh my gosh!
So it
was that something?
Yeah, that surprised me.
Wow!
Because so many people from so far away would honor me by showing up.
Amazing.
And being with me,
That's pretty cool.
Okay, so this one couple came. It was a mama and her daughter. Her daughter was stone blind, and the daughter, she felt around on me, see, and she said, "You're my favorite artist." She said, your pieces are so, I don't know the word she used.
Tactile, maybe?
Tactile is the word. I don't think she used that, but she said, by feeling it, I can see it. I've wept.
Oh my gosh.
Brought tears in my eyes,
Yeah.
So,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So
and probably in a way put what you do in a little bit different perspective.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
It really does.
It's neat.
That was one of the unforgettables.
Thank you for sharing that. That's pretty cool. So if you're a Santa collector, remember we have our signed Santa, which is our larger Santa here, that beautiful garland, that sort of red poinsettia-like coat. But if you want to collect Santas, you can have one signed, one that's not. But remember, if you buy both, if anything in Jim's collection, 10% off the whole Jim Shore order. So that's pretty nice. I'm going to move a little quickly here on our last couple pieces because we're running out of time, which I hate that.
Sometimes I carry on too much.
I'm not exactly quiet either. So, all right. One of the fun things with Jim's collection is he does work with some of these fun licenses, if you will.
Yes.
So it's much like with our Rudolph that we saw. It's an opportunity for Jim to sort of put his spin on some classic and iconic cartoon characters or fairy book tale characters. This is Peanuts. I do want to point out this one here with Snoopy and Charlie Brown has a little, uses batteries and lights up. So you have this light strand that's all wrapped around Charlie Brown, who you can just hear him saying, "Good grief."
I have to say, I just absolutely love that piece.
I love it. And I have to tell you, Jim, that, I've always liked Peanuts. And when I used to doodle in class, I was one of those kids, I used to doodle a Snoopy head all the time.
Yeah.
I did. I'm no artist, but that was one thing I could kind of draw. But your pieces have kind of reintroduced me to how charming and sweet and sometimes a little sneaky Snoopy can be.
Well, let me tell you, the genius of Charles Schultz.
Yes.
Now, I never met him, but I met his daughter.
He came to QVC.
Yeah.
We used to carry like a whole
Yeah.
Peanuts line at the
Uh-huh.
time.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
And he's an awful lot of psychology.
He is.
You know?
Yes.
It's sort of the essence of the human condition.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything's involved in there. you know?
Yes.
And I was honored by being asked to give the keynote speech at Beagle Fest last year.
Oh, how fun.
And that was in Minneapolis, and it's a convention of Peanuts
Wow.
enthusiasts. They
Right.
call it Beagle Fest because
Because
Snoopy's a beagle.
Snoopy's a beagle. Yeah.
And I was amazed, at how many people shared the love of that, that I do. And
Mm-hmm.
it was absolutely a delight, to see that many people and to see them, so many of them dressed like Snoopy. That was-
Yeah.
But
Well, listen, some people wear the Mickey ears,
Hey.
right? Some people
I
wear
don't
the Snoopy
judge.
look. Or the Woodstock, whatever it is.
Exactly.
The what's the word I'm looking for? Mohawk, kind of. So 2 Snoopy designs here. 1 Snoopy, Charlie Brown. I mean, look at all the texture and everything. Of course, if it's Jim Shore, it's not just going to be an average piece. It's going to have design elements every which way you look at it. I'd never seen one that lights up like this, so I thought that was so fun. But I do love Woodstock. And so look here, you have Woodstock and Snoopy in front of the fireplace with a little holiday detail on the mantle, and they're roasting marshmallows. Isn't that cute? Look at that detail there too. They're smiling. They're so happy. Like, that looks like a pretty good night, if you ask me.
that's a happy piece.
That's a good happy piece. So those are our 2 Peanuts pieces. And then last but not least, I want to show you this Grinch piece. Because much like Rudolph, and remember, we still have a few of the signed Rudolph pieces to go around. Much like Rudolph, another Christmas classic, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
This is a piece that I frequently do the stories in a storybook way.
Yes.
I've done many of them. like
Yeah.
this, and then this is no exception. So even the back of it, is like
Like a book.
And so I
Neat.
thought, since it is a story like that comes out of the Dr. Seuss book, that it
Yes.
would be a perfect thing for that. And so I am showing the Grinch here in one of his sort of iconic scenes.
Yes.
Where he's
He even stole the roast beast.
He is so mean. He's a mean one.
He's a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
But,
But remember, his heart did grow 3 sizes that day,
he
right?
sure did.
Fadu Laure, or whatever the
Well,
song
the-
is.
the whole story actually, it's really more than just a silly little story. Then
Yes.
there's some true meaning there.
Yes, right.
And you learn a little something from it.
Give
And-
back and don't be a curmudgeon,
Yeah,
right?
that's right, that's Don't steal the
Don't
hammer.
be a Grinch. I'm going to hold this up close so people can see the detail of everything here. It's like it's popping off of the page of the book.
And see the details on the page are sort of kind of in relief, by
Yeah.
relief kind of thing. But the Grinch himself, that's in full 3 dimensions.
Yeah,
So
look at that.
it really adds an interesting element.
It's almost like it's a pop-up book.
Yeah,
Remember, like
yeah,
the pop-up
exactly.
books? Look at the angle of the tree. There's that little ornament that rolls into the
There you go.
bedroom of Cindy Lou Who. Look at the detail there. So again, for those of you who this brings back memories, it's a story you've grown up with. We can all sing along with Boris Karloff when he sings the song of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. We have the Jim Shore version of that available for you as part of our collection. All right, that was a lot to show you. How about getting an hour with Jim Shore, the ability to buy signed pieces, 10% off your Jim Shore purchase if you buy more than one. You are just a dream to say, sure, I'll stop by, Jill. Thank you for spending this time with us, Jim. I appreciate you so much.
I as I said, I cherish our friendship, and
Thank
it's been
you.
an absolute. The only regret I have, it was only 1 hour.
1 hour.
It
Well,
has
we can
flown
do
by.
2. We can do 2. And here's what you should know. One of the nice things about Jim being in town is if you're somebody who does watch QVC, Jim is going to be on QVC, completely different collections and offers there. But for those of you who are the diehard Jim Shore collectors, he'll be on at 1 a.m. Eastern time over at QVC. I think you have a big deal going on over there,
I do
right?
have a big deal.
Well, you're a big deal, but they have a big deal so that you can find some other things to shop for from Jim
And
there too.
I'll be on with Rachel if you know her. And
Nice.
So we'll have a good time.
Awesome. Well, have a great night.
Well,
Thank you again for being here.
thank
you so
Jill.
much. Yeah, I just appreciate you, and
I love you too.
you have always just been one of my most favorite people. And for all of you who say he seems like such a nice man, the nicest, truly from the heart. So
Thank you.
again, love you. Thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're having another Facebook Live tomorrow night, so I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. with more brand new things as our Christmas in July here at Just Jill continues. Have a good night,
God
everybody.
bless you all.
Thank you. All right.